May we find a little connection here and now. A moment of laughter or caught meaning. May we weave a back and forth thread of understanding, insight, or discovery. Even over distance, technology, or time. Even across the barrier of shared space. Even when none of us are functioning best. Even if we're kind of faking being fine. We are all tired, beloveds, no matter the sleep. We can only bring our real selves to each other, just as we are. Just us, messy hair and untidy hearts. Be us, true and awkward, here together as one. Come, let us worship together. It's so good to be here. I miss y'all. A few years ago, I had a spiritual practice of writing a blessing every day. I posted them to Facebook with public settings for anyone to see. I wrote 535 blessings. It's a lot. And I learned a lot, not just about writing blessings or about spiritual practice, but also about how to shift from just writing the words into living the words that I had written. The first one I wrote was a bit of a struggle. I wasn't really sure how to organize it, and I had actually been writing blessings here and there for years, but now I was paying extra attention. I wanted it to be both a daily thing and also kind of an everyday thing, not 365 days of big life events. I wanted it to be a Monday night blessing and a Thursday morning blessing, not all formal. And I had no idea what I was doing. Now, I have two ways I usually start things. One is by researching them intensively before I do anything. And the other one is jump in without any preparation, just go for it. The whole daily blessings thing, I was still in seminary, and I didn't really want to do more research homework. And then also, this practice is about doing it daily, not doing it right. So, fling myself in, that's what we did. When I say I didn't know what I was doing, I'm not unfamiliar with blessings, for sure. For those of you who don't know me, I'm not just a candidate for UU ministry, I'm also a UU preacher's kid. Barbara Hebner is my mom. And she went to seminary when I was a teen. So I spent a lot of my young adulthood talking with her about spiritual practices and ritual design and blessings and all of that. So you might think I might have had more of a clue. Instead, I knew just enough to grasp how much I was winging it. So let's talk a little bit about blessings in general. There are a few types of blessings commonly used by Unitarian Universalists, and most of them are not these everyday blessings I'm talking about. So let me just name them before we put them aside. The first one is something along the lines of the Beatitudes. where the blessing is really about naming unpleasant things, unpleasant experiences or states of being, and then throwing in the twist upside, the gift, to shake the dust off our assumptions. These often start with, "Blessed are they who." It's a classic Christian form for sure, and part of our heritage. They're good for helping reframe how we think about the world. They're inspiring, uplifting, and especially good if we can relate directly. But doing one a day? Too much of a strict formula for me, maybe. That would have ended up being really repetitive, or I would have run dry. I could see myself ending up at, "Blessed are the toll booth workers, for they shall," I got nothing. So we're not talking about Beatitudes. And we're also not talking about that hierarchical ministry thing where a designated party serves as a conduit for bestowing divine gifts or promises of hoped good things. I have done those blessings a few times, and they're legitimate. I've done them in UCC services, and I'm actually pretty good at it. But that type of ministry hierarchy is not in my personal theology. So not that kind of blessing for me either. And also not quite like the ritual blessings that we use rely on year-round, usually for particular events, purposes, transitions. I didn't want to be doing a blessing of the backpacks, blessing of new buildings, marriages, divorces, new roles, retiring staff. These are all really important. They're good things to bless. But that's still not a daily practice thing. It's a rites of passage thing. So what's left? There I was, not having thought it through before I decided to do this. Day one of who knows how many blessings. Fortunately, I would like to say cleverly, but it was accidental. I started on New Year's Day, 2019. So I had a prompt to work with. It's New Year's. Here's the blessing I wrote. Whether today marks a new beginning for you, or is an opportunity to review what has been and hope for more and better, or is simply and perfectly another day in which to be, may this day serve. Blessings to you, your loved ones, the world, and the multitude of paths unfurling before us in this moment. Now, I thought it was pretty good, but I was still nervous about putting it out there on public settings. But I did it. I wrote it, and I put it out there. And that's the first step in making things come alive. It's actually doing them. Begin. And sure, that first blessing was workable. But I had so much to learn. The next thing I learned is we are all in the muck of everyday life together. Time after time, I posted the blessing that I thought was really my experience, and somebody said, "Oh, this is me right now. You're speaking to me." But it was me right then, too. All these experiences and moments and floundering I had, someone else somewhere was having that same experience on the very same day. They had the same need or the same hurt or the same exhaustion or frustration. Or they had the same comfort, the same reminder to be present, or the same moment of relief. It wasn't just me. It was us. By 6 months into this practice, I changed my language from you and I to we and our, most of the time. Like this. Patience, kindness, generosity of spirit, may these be present in those we meet on the day when our hearts are raw. The everyday part of the practice involved noticing that you and I are having experiences and struggles that look a whole lot alike, even when we feel alone, even when we feel isolated in whatever that not happens to be. And we both need to hear that we're in it together. We're not alone in being human. And we're not alone in how hard that can be. A good blessing works for more than just me and more than just one of you. So why not write them that way? So I learned, begin and make the blessings expansive. Sometimes I would be up well past midnight trying to make that day's words happen in any kind of reasonable way. Especially because I was working full-time and going to school and have kids and a spouse and a garden. What was I thinking? Occasionally, I would give up and try again the next day because spiritual practices only work if they're doable. But mostly, I decided to just throw something out there that was true, even if it might involve a little cursing. Like this one. It's mild cursing. Not all of mine were mild, just saying. This was from August that year. On days that totally didn't go as we planned, when the plan was pretty limited even then. May we get to the end of the day still alive. Because, hey, we can claim this iffy-ass day, revel in the accomplishment of carrying on. Not just a baseline assumption all the time. And alive is good, an outcome to celebrate. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe some more. Other times, when I was lost on what to say, I resorted to making pretty patterns with the words, like visually. Literally, I would start writing and then make the ragged right edge into a shape. Scallops, a little curve, shaped like a vase. That way, I could feel like I had at least crafted something, even if the words were so-so. But I still stuck with whatever I offered as a blessing had to be true. Even if my technique was about the shape on the page. This one, for example, has a nice scooped curve on the right side. When the week has been long, may we have people who will take us in and make us tasty food. Indeed. It didn't have to be profound, it just had to be truth. So I learned, Begin, bless expansively, and make it true. Sometimes, people who know me are not going to be surprised, I would write really long blessings and wonder if people would read them. They did. Other days, I would write really short ones and wonder if people would find them useful. See, and that's another growth point for me right there. Because spending energy on ego soothing, on whether they were any good or not, was not the point. Editing for perfection was not the point. The point of a spiritual practice, like writing blessings, is just to write them. Just to write them and share them, whatever they are. And then see what happens. I think my shortest one was this. May we have a reason to laugh. It's hard to unlearn the impulse to perfect them, to get feedback that we're doing a good job. We want to do a good job, right? But sometimes wanting to do a good job gets in the way of doing a good job. I had to just write it, not check my grade. So I learned, begin, bless expansively, make it true, and just write it, don't check it. By the fall, I had really stopped trying to craft them so hard, even when I did have time. Instead, I just let them loose. The less I cared about how well they were written, the more they got real in totally everyday ways. Like this one. May we remember to nap when it's a good time to nap. Because naps, enough said. I wrote a lot about the blessing of naps. And that is another pointer about how to make these blessings real. These blessings are a signpost. They're saying, here is this need, and here is this answer to this need. So maybe pursue the answer. In order to do that, though, we have to put the answer where we'll notice it, and where the people we love can also notice it. By sharing these everyday blessings with others, I found myself accountable to the things I had written. Because now everybody knew that I thought naps were important. Or that it was okay to have a bad day and try again tomorrow. And I was accountable to myself for that too. Because if these were true, what was I doing not following the signposts I had put up? Now, the sharing doesn't have to be on social media. If you want to try this, you don't have to go that far. I am, after all, going into ministry. It's a thing. But maybe put it on a sticky note on your monitor, or print it and stick it on the fridge. Maybe text them to your friends. Or, heck, print it out and post it on a telephone pole. Begin. Bless expansively. Make it true. Just write it, don't check. And follow our own signposts. I do, in fact, take many more naps now than I did when I first mentioned naps in my blessings. And I have friends who have said that I encourage them to rest more as well, just by naming it. The same is true about harder things. Sometimes a blessing was about noticing when we let ourselves overwork. And yeah, I needed to set those boundaries. Other times it was about noticing that it was so easy to be all rage and passion about justice, and I was making stuff about my own feelings instead of being a good ally. I needed to fix that. Sometimes I was reminding myself and people I loved that we need time together for connection and care, and I'm still not great at that, but I am working on it. Everyday blessings at their root are a way to name a regular human need and attach it to hope, or to name a want or a discomfort and attach it to comfort and fulfillment. These are our everyday questions and the everyday answers put into words and then shared. To make this a spiritual practice at all, we have to begin. To make it a broad spiritual practice, we must bless both ourselves and others expansively. To make it a compelling practice, offer truth however we can today and not focus on scoring our performance. And then we can follow our own signposts towards living the everyday blessings we offer. May it be so, and blessed be.
Now we will extinguish our chalice. Please join in reading aloud the chalice extinguishing. The words are on the screen. We now extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of our understanding, the warmth of this community, or the fire of commitment, which we hold precious in our hearts to share with the world every day until we're together again.
So yeah, untidy is still good. May we be nets for each other, expected or out of nowhere, whether strangers or friends, beloved or passing by, even for a moment. Blessed be.